Imagine this, in just a few clicks, your website gets analyzed, optimized, and you receive a beautifully crafted performance report, all while you sip your coffee. Sounds magical, right? Well, this isn't a dream, it's automation at its finest, powered by AI tools and seamless workflows. So today we're diving into an incredible automation process that takes your landing page optimization to the next level. This automation workflow doesn't just analyze your website, it completely transforms how you interact with data and insights. Starting with Airtable, your website's details like URL, purpose, and target audience are stored securely. And next, cutting-edge APIs analyze your site's performance, generate screenshots, and even provide tailored landing page recommendations using OpenAI's GPT technology. And finally, it wraps it all up into a sleek, personalized email report. Think about it. A process that used to take hours of manual effort is now done in minutes. Now here's the exciting part. This isn't just about saving time, it's also a fantastic way to learn. By mastering this automation workflow, you can offer landing page optimization services to small businesses, digital marketers, or even web development agencies. Charge clients for comprehensive reports that improve their website performance and user experience. And alternatively, you can create subscription-based services where clients receive monthly optimization insights, turning your skills into a steady income stream. The opportunities are endless. Freelance gigs, consulting, or even scaling up into a full-blown business. All right, so let's take a sneak peek under the hood and build out this automation. All right, so let's build out this automation. And therefore, what you can see here is that we have a few modules in make.com. And if you don't know what make.com is, you should definitely join my school community. There you will find an entire masterclass that will teach you about all of these things. So nothing here will be surprising or new to you if you finish that course. And then what you can also see is that we have Airtable here, which is going to be the tool where we store our data and retrieve the data. So basically our database. And this is really, really important that you have access to an Airtable account, a Make account, and the other things we're going to set up on the fly. So let's go ahead and try to build this out. But before that, let's quickly look at what we have. So we have a webhook. Then we get a record. Let's scroll in a little bit. Then we take the screenshot of a given URL. So let's say somebody entered a website URL. We then take a screenshot of that. Then we store details in Airtable. So we update a record on Airtable. So in our database, we then create a completion. So we use ChatGPT in order to analyze the screenshot that we have taken. We then take a text parser here in order to get the results that ChatGPT will give us in the right format. Because usually what ChatGPT does is it gives you this intro and outro stuff where it just says, if you need any further help, please let me know, or anything like that. We don't want that. We don't want that to be stored in our Airtable account. We also don't want that to be sent to our customer in the email. So that's why we are using this text parser. Then we update the record with whatever ChatGPT created for us or whatever the text parser gave us. Then we are making a request, and this will then check the page speed for the given website URL. So this is another API that we're going to use, really powerful. Then we take the information that we get from this API call. So basically from this page speed call, where we're checking how fast the website is, what can be improved, and so forth. We send that information to ChatGPT and say, hey, here's the data that we got about this website, then optimize that. Then we take the data and we parse it again in order to only get the information out that we want, so that we don't create an email that has some, how can I help you otherwise, please let me know, or whatever kind of text. And then we update our Airtable with the result, with the report that we got from here. And finally, we put the information that we got from this text parser and this text parser together to send an email. Okay, so that's what we're going to build. And I'd say let's get started. Therefore, let's go ahead and create a new scenario. And this new scenario, first of all, we need to create a webhook. Why am I using a webhook? Well, because I want to make sure the moment that somebody enters into our beautiful form that we're going to build in a minute, that this webhook is triggered, and we then get the information about whatever the user has entered, so that we don't use up our automations on make.com for nothing. Okay, so we are going to use this custom webhook, and we're going to create a webhook, which I'm going to call LP Analyzer, and I'm going to call this one LP Analyzer YT for YouTube. Let's save that. And at this point, we can copy this address to clipboard. This address we can then take and go to Airtable. And in here, let's go ahead and create a new Airtable base from scratch. I'm just going to call this one site data YT for YouTube. And the base I'm going to call LP Analyzer YT. And there we can go ahead and first of all get rid of these 3 columns here. So delete these fields. And the name here will stay in called name, but I'm just going to give it an ID. So the auto number will just be its name. Obviously, we could rename it into ID or something like that. It is going to be the unique identifier for any given record inside of our database. Then I will need a username, and this username will be a single line text. Then an email that the user has entered. So here, email. Then we can go with the website URL, which will be a URL like so. Then the purpose. So what's the purpose of the landing page? And that will be a long text. Then we need to know who the target audience is, which I'm just going to use a single text for. The description about the company or the landing page, which will be a long text. Then I'm going to have a field created. It's just good to know when a record was created. So I'm going to use this created time, and I'm going to use 24 hours because I'm in Europe and we do that. And then I can go ahead and have a screenshot URL. This will be the URL to the screenshot created by our helper tool that we're going to use. And then I'm going to have image recommendations, and these image recommendations will be a long text. And then finally, we have the analysis results. So analysis results will be a long text. So there we are. We have all of the columns ready. And now we can go ahead and set up let's do the forms first, because once we have a form, we can then go from there. So I'm going to call this one LP Analyzer. And the data that I want to get from the user will be the username, the email, the website URL, the purpose, target audience, as well as description. So I don't want to gather the information about the screenshot, neither about the image recommendations, because these are going to be fields that we fill up with the help of ChatGPT. So we're going to get rid of those. So whenever a user enters details, we want to have the username, website URL, purpose, target audience, description. All right, we can still make it nicer later, but for now this will work. Now let's go over to the automations. And here I'm going to add a trigger. So I'm going to select this when record is created. So I'm going to say whenever a new record is created inside of my table site data, then I want to run some code. So the code here will be very simple. It's code that we use every single time that we want to use a webhook. So what I want to do is I want to basically, whenever a user entered something and submitted the form, when the form is submitted, I want to go over here and call this webhook here, which then will trigger the automation and make. Okay, so therefore we have this code. Now we need to add input fields. So you can just enter this same code that you see here, and then you will need to use the webhook URL here, which is exactly the name that is written here. So you could just copy and paste it here. And the value will be this one here. So you can click into this webhook and click on copy address to clipboard and then go in here. Then the name will be record ID. And here we're going to select the Airtable record ID. And if this is going too fast for you, definitely check out my AI automation masterclass inside of my school. The link is in the description below. So then let's finish editing this. And this one we can now try. So let's test this automation by turning this one on. So let's run once. And by the way, let me click on OK here. Let's save this. Let's run once. And then we can go over here and test the automation. So we're going to select the record. Doesn't matter what kind of record it is. Currently, we just have these empty records. So we're going to run this automation and see if we get any details here inside of this webhook. So after a few seconds, it should give us a a piece of data, which in this case will just be the record ID. So this record ID is really just this piece of data that we have right here. So this first entry, this is the one that I selected inside of my automations here. When I tested, I selected this record. It has an ID. The ID is what we have just gotten. Why did we get it? We got it through the script that we edited. So here, this is the script, and you see it sends us the record ID. So now I'm going to turn on this automation. So every single time that I now create a new entry in here, I will trigger this automation. So what I want to do instead is I want to not enter data in here. I want to fill in the form. And once I fill in the form, I want to send the information over to this automation. Okay, but let me just get rid of the entries that we have so far. And let's build out a little bit of the automation before we go to the next steps. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take this information from this webhook and I'm going to select the Airtable module here to get a record based on its ID. So if you don't have a connection with Airtable yet, you will need to add the connection. And once you click on add and you select OAuth, then you can connect with your Airtable. Okay, I'm just going to use the connection that I already have. And here in this Airtable module, let's go ahead and add a connection. So I'm going to use OAuth. I'm going to call this one AI Automations YT. And let's go ahead and save this. And then a pop-up will appear where I can add a base to my whole system here. So I'm going to add this LP analyzer and grant access to that base, to this make.com automation. And then I can access the base, which is going to be this base here that we have right there. So the LP analyzer YouTube, which is this base. And now we can access the table site data, YouTube, and then the record ID is what we get from the webhook. So from this individual webhook here. So I'm going to save that. And we see this is exactly the record ID that we got here. We are now putting into this Airtable and we get the record. Now, obviously we don't have that record anymore because I deleted it, but that's fine. So now what we can do is we can load the data from this webhook and then go into analyzing a certain website. Okay, therefore we need to go back to our form here and let's publish this form. And then once we have published it, we can go ahead and here we can share it with anyone, or we can only share it with users who have access to this base, which is in my case, I'm myself. So I'm going to say username is going to be Dennis. Then I'm going to enter an email address, then a website URL that I would like to analyze. So let's say I want to analyze my website here, aidennis.com, the landing page that I have to collect email addresses. All right, so then let's go over here. Let's use this URL. The website is supposed to collect email addresses of people who are interested in AI. Well, I could say AI automation, but that's not true for the landing page itself. So here you can add the purpose of the website, and the users will then receive emails about relevant information. Okay, so then target audience, I'm going to say AI enthusiasts. So I just added a description here. We're offering AI education, teaching people about Gen AI and how they can effectively use it. So I'm going to submit this form and we can then go over to our data and then we will find our entry. So this is the entry. Now, obviously I don't have a screenshot URL, neither any other information. Now, I didn't run my make scenario for this time, so I'm going to run it again and use the existing data. In case this doesn't work, then just redo the process and I should get the record with all the details. So there we are. We have all the details here in our Airtable directly. So the next thing that I want to do is I want to use the web URL and I want to use it with this HTML CSS to image.com module. So they have a module inside of School, and in order to use this module inside of your make scenario, which is this HTML/CSS to image, this one here. So here, create a screenshot of a URL. This is what we want to do specifically, right? So in order to get access to it, you need to add a connection and you need to register on this website and then go to your dashboard. And there you will find your user ID as well as your API key. So once you enter those, you will have a connection that you can use. And then you can enter the URL that you want to analyze or take a screenshot of. So I'm taking a screenshot of this website URL. And then I'm going to say I want to do full screen, which will go through the entire page. So when set to true, the API will generate an image of the entire height of the page. So it means that it will scroll the entire page. Okay. And then we can click on OK. So this will now create a screenshot for us. And what we will do with that is we're going to store the screenshot in Airtable. So we're going to update the record. So let's run this once again and let's go over to our LP analyzer. Then we go to automations and here let's test the automation with a selected record. I'm going to run it with the Dennis at Tutorials EU record. This should then trigger this event and there we are. So it went through it and created an image URL here with an image ID. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take that image URL and I'm going to store it inside of Airtable. And here I'm going to update the record. I'm going to use my same connection from earlier, but now I also need to give the permissions to also update records. So I'm just going to click on that and it will open this up. And I'm going to say, you know what, this LP Analyzer YouTube should also be usable throughout my make automation. Then we can use this LP Analyzer YouTube here, use the site data YouTube table. And there, what is it that we want to update for which ID? So for the record ID that we get from the webhook, then we want to update the screenshot URL with the URL that we get from this HCTI API module. Okay, so let's click on OK. And at this point, we could run it again, but I'm going to save my time for this. I'm just going to directly go to the next step and I'm going to use OpenAI here to create a completion with ChatGPT. So here what we need to do is we need to connect to our OpenAI connection. So by the way, if you don't have one, go to platform.openai.com, register there, set up your payment account, and then go to API keys and create a new secret key. Use that secret key then here in order to add the connection here. So if you go to add, you can see that you can add your key here and you can also just click into here and it will help you to create API keys. So once you have that, then you should be able to select what you want to do. I want to select create a chat completion. The model that I'm going to use is going to be GPT-4o latest. And I would recommend just use the latest model, not the O1, which is reasoning and takes forever, but just take the one that is the pure model, so to speak. Then add a message here, and the message will be a user message, and the text content I'm going to provide to you. So it will be this here. So it says, based on the given screenshot of a website, provide a detailed landing page optimization results. Provide a detailed optimization result. Here are the purpose, description, and target audience of the website, so that we get all of these details, and we should get them from our Airtable. So here I'm going to say, let's get them from the get record here. Okay, so the purpose we get from here, purpose, the target audience we get from here, AI enthusiasts, the description, let's get it from the description. And then generate detailed recommendations, use HTML tags for list items and sublists. Embed the recommendation content inside a HTML code snippet to easily extract only the recommendations part. Use landing page optimizations as the heading. Okay, so that's, by the way, not it yet. We need something else here as well. So further down, we can add an image input type. And I'm just going to say URL here. And the URL we get from, well, either this image URL or the screenshots URL that we stored inside of this update a record. Either way is fine. I'm just going to use this image URL here. All right. So at this point, we can parse the information using a text parser. So here we're going to say text parser, and I'm going to use match pattern advanced. So this match pattern advanced, that's where I'm just going to add a pattern in. So I'm going to say I want to have global match. So this will find all matches rather than stopping after the first match. So what this text parser does is it uses something called regular expressions or regex, and then it just takes portions of the text that fit the regular expressions pattern that you use. Okay, so I created a video on that. If you want to dive deeper into it, I can link it here, but it is using C#, so it's using a programming language where this all explained. So maybe it's not perfectly fit for you, but this is not a course about how to use regular expressions. You can really just go ahead and tell ChatGPT what you want the regular expression about, and then it will create one for you. So what I just want to do is, I just want to say, you know what, I'm going to use this pattern. So what this will do is it will just get rid of this dash 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 or this apostrophe thing HTML that ChatGPT tends to give you whenever you are asking it for HTML output. And the same goes for this at the end, where it also gives you these outputs. So we will see that in a minute. And I just want to have all letters in between is basically what I'm saying. Okay, so give me all text except for all this HTML stuff, except for these things. So this part as well at the end, as well as this part at the beginning. So the text input will be the result of my OpenAI module. So of this module. So I just want to get its result and I want to use it inside of this text parser. Okay. So let's click on OK. And then it's complaining that it should not be the last entry. So you know what? I'm just going to say whatever you give me as an output, I'm going to store inside of my Airtable as well. So here we can just go ahead and take our base, our table, and what is that we want to update? Well, we want to update for the given record ID that we get from our webhook, the screenshot, well, the image recommendations, which will be the output of our text parser. If you want to get the blueprint that you can then very easily just import here directly, and then with a simple click of a button, get the entire automation built out for you, and you just need to set up the connections. If you want that, then join my school community, where you don't only have access to a really amazing community and get support, but you get also access to my courses. Currently, we have the AI Automation Masterclass, where you learn everything that you need to know about Airtable and Make.com. Then there's a course, Automate Your Life, where you get a bunch of really valuable information as to how you can find out what you need to automate in your life as well as in your business or your job. And we are going to add a bunch more courses over time, as well as more templates like the one that you saw today. And not all of them will be available on YouTube. So definitely check out the school community. You can find out the link in the description below. So you can just go ahead and select value here. You will not have any data here, but I just had to fix a little problem that we're going to fix in this video as well. So the tool that we built so far will work if you have a landing page that isn't too long. So if the screenshot isn't too big, once it becomes a very long landing page, a long image, so to speak, then you will run into problems potentially. That's where let's run this quickly with one URL that is very like a short screenshot, so to speak, and then go to the, well, how we can fix it for a long screenshot. Let's say, for example, MailChimp. Okay, so let's take MailChimp as the URL. Let's go into our records here, and I'm just going to modify the website URL to be MailChimp instead of AI Dennis. And then we can go to automations. We can test the automation once again. So click into test automation, select the record, select the one that we have, make sure that your automation runs. Let's wait for new data, and let's start a new test because I was too quick there, and run the automation. And now we should get the data, and hopefully also the module with ChatGPT should be able to download the image. But the thing is, if the image is too big, well, you will run into the problem that we have right here. So even the one from MailChimp was too big of an image. So let's quickly fix that by adding a module in here, which will be an HTTP module. We're going to get a file. We're going to get it from the image URL right here. And the output from that module is what we're going to use in OpenAI. So instead of using an image URL, we're going to use an image file, which we get from the HTTP module. So I'm going to use file name as the name and data as the image data that we get from this new module that I just plugged in here. And at this point, we can actually even just go back to my URL instead of the one from MailChimp. So let's use aidennis.com here again. And then we can run our automation once again, wait for new data. Let's make sure that we go to automations, select our record and run the automation. So this should then trigger the automation. Now, what is different to what we had before? Well, before that, ChatGPT would download the image and then it would use it, right? So now this HTTP module downloads the image and makes some sort of different format out of it, some data format. And then this format is then what is sent over to OpenAI, which then can take the data and doesn't have to download this long image or whatever. And this would break the timeout. So there is a certain timeout where it says, okay, if I can't download the image in a certain time, then I will just stop working. And that's what we just saw with this error that we got. But this time with this HTTP module, it does work. And now we can go from there and we can see if the data here was given for us. So we have a screenshot URL and we now have an image recommendation. So we see here that we got this HTML code, which gives us a bunch of recommendation tips as to how I could potentially improve my website. Pretty good. So then the next step would be to go and do the same thing, but this time with the speed of our website. So here I'm going to add another HTTP module and I'm going to make a request. So here, make a request. And here in this module, we're just going to use this URL here, pagespeedonlinegoogleapis.com/pagespeedonline/v5/run-page-speed. We're going to use a get here and the query string is going to be URL for the name. And here we take the website URL, which we got from our Airtable record. So whatever the user has entered here, website URL. And then we're going to add another parameter where we're going to say that the strategy should be desktop. So by doing so, we're saying we want to know how it works for desktop, like how this page is performing on the desktop. And then category is what we're going to set to performance. All right. And we're going to say parse the response. So this will automatically give us the data in a format that is called JSON, which is readable for computers, but also readable for humans. It's just a structured way to display data. All right. So if you want to know more about what's going on in this module, I would recommend to check out the Google API for page speed. And then out of this HTTP module, we want to do something with it again. We want to use ChatGPT. So here we're going to create a completion, and the completion that we want to use this time is going to, again, be the latest module or model of ChatGPT. So ChatGPT v4.0 latest in my case. The message should again use the user, and as the content, I'm going to provide the text for you. So if you want to use this particular template, you can just download it in my school and you'll find the URL there, with in-depth tutorials on make.com and Airtable and a lot more. So here you see I am using the cumulative layout that I get from this HTTP request. So we didn't run it yet, so we will not get anything valuable out of these blocks here. But what I can do already is I can change the website URL to be this aidentist.com again, or the website URL here, which currently is aidentist.com. And the entire prompt says something like generate detailed recommendations, use HTML tags, embed the recommendation contents inside a HTML code snippet to easily extract only the recommendations part. Okay, so that is what we want to get out of our module. We can leave the rest as is. We'll need to make sure that we change those settings based on whatever we get out of our data here. So out of our HTTP result here. So just make a request. Let's for now get rid of all of these here. So I'm going to get rid of all the black texts here and use it once we got the data from this HTTP request here. So I'm going to run it once. Well, actually, let's use existing data. So it will use the same data again. So here it's downloading the file at this point. So by same data, I mean the same line or same record inside of our Airtable. So here it's doing the ChatGPT part, then it's parsing. So basically really just giving us the cleaner output, so to speak. And we can look at that in a second. So once we got the data, you see here, so this was the pattern, and the output that we got was pure HTML code. So there is no blah, blah, blah around it. And you can see, if you look at the output of ChatGPT, there is this dash, dash, dash HTML at the beginning and dash, dash, dash at the end as well. So if you get that as a result, you cannot work with it as HTML text, so to speak. Okay, so here we are analyzing the speed using Google API's page speed online, and we get a bunch of results. So we get headers here, we get, well, data, loading experience, then all kinds of stuff. So a lot of information, as you can see here. And ChatGPT tried to create a result based on that. Obviously, it didn't get the right data. So that's something we need to change here real quick. So here inside of our text here, we will need to give the cumulative layout shift. So I'm going to use this Lighthouse results for cumulative layout shift. And in there we have audits, and that's where we have all the details. So we have the cumulative layout shift, and I'm going to go for this numeric value. Then the first content paint full. This was the first, where is it? It's the first content paint, which we will find further down. You see, we get a lot of output here. First contentful paint, that's the one that I'm looking for. And this will be the display value. So how long it took to get there. Then largest contentful paint is the, well, it's under largest contentful paint. Where is it? Contentful paint element. So you see, this is a little bit of scrolling. There we are, largest contentful paint, numeric display value, this one here. Then the speed index we get from speed index. So let's search for that. There we are, speed index. And I'm interested in the display value here as well, and so forth, right? So you can just look at the names that I have here and adjust them accordingly. So I just entered all the other values, so got them from this make a request HTTP module, and I entered all of them. So that's it for this part here. Now we have the prompt that will give us the results that we now need to parse again. So we're going to use our good friend text parser again, and we're going to match pattern using an advanced pattern. We want to use global matches at true, case sensitive to set to no. We're going to run multiple lines here, and the pattern that I'm going to use is going to be the same that we had earlier, where we are basically loading all the HTML part, and then the text that we want to take is the one we get as a result from the module. This one right here, in my case, it's 11, number 11. So I'm going to select results from 11, not the results from our other module that we already used earlier, this OpenAI module. Don't use that. Make sure that you use this particular module as your result. And then we need to make sure that we add another item here. So this would be an Airtable where I'm going to update a record that I get from my text parser. So I'm going to update my LP analyzer YouTube base, and I'm going to use this site data YouTube table, and the record ID I'm going to get from my webhook down here. And then what is it that I want to upload? Well, the analysis results, which I'm going to get from 11. So these are, well, not actually from 11, but from this value. That's where we use the parser, right? So it's going to create very beautiful HTML code for me again. So this one creates HTML code now, and let me check why it's complaining. So we have the global match turned on, sensitive, yes, no, no, HTML text and result. That should work, yeah. It just didn't update correctly. So this will update our record. And once we got this updated record, what we want to create is going to be an email. So we want to send out an email, but first of all, let's run it with what we have. Let's use existing data, so it will go through the entire flow, download the image, analyze it, and all the good stuff. So once that is done, I'm going to keep going with this final module here. And I will first of all have an overview of what the text parser will give me, because the beauty about this HTTP module is that it uses the Google API to analyze the entire page. So I can take the info from there and optimize my page accordingly. And it obviously takes a little while because a lot is going on. But yeah, I personally think this is an amazing tool that we've built here. Obviously, it can be improved. And if you have some ideas as to how it can be improved, please let me know, because I'd be happy to make it even better in the future. So there we are, we get the output. Let's look at this value and we see here performance improvements, optimize responsive images, then explicit dimensions for unsized images, improve cumulative layout shift, enhance server response time. So it gives me a proper audit here, really useful. And it stores it inside of our table. So let's look at this table. We should get it. You see, we get a new screenshot, an HTML, well, the image recommendation, as well as our analysis result. So that's really cool. And at this point, what we can do is we can send out the image. And at this point, you can just add your Gmail or email. In my case, I'm going to use Gmail. I'm going to say send an email. I'm going to create a connection, give it a proper name, sign in with my Google account. And once I am connected, I can go ahead and add a recipient. The recipient we get from our very first record. So here, when we loaded the record from Airtable, there we got the email. Then we can add a subject. So we can say your optimization report is ready, or something like for, and then the URL. So website URL, for example. The content will be this HTML code here, where it just makes it look a little nicer. The website URL we get from our, well, we can take it from any of the Airtable records. I'm just going to get it from there. The purpose we get from the Airtable record as well. The target audience as well as the description. And then the interesting part are the image recommendations, which we get from our final table, so to speak. So we can get them from here. And in this section, I will add the analysis results. Okay. So here you can add powered by optimized now, or whatever text you want to enter here. So here I'm going to say powered AI automation specialists. Okay. And at the top, landing page up. Well, I think this is good enough. Now at this point, we should have our automation. So let me run it. Well, let me actually run this module only, because I don't want to eat up all of my automation executions for the, well, this tool here, because it is free for 50 images. That's my current plan. But after that, it will start to cost money. So I have used a bunch of images already, and I'm not sure how many I still have left. So I'm just going to select the run this module only with all the details that I get from my Airtable. And at this point, let's run our automation one more time. And by the way, let's also save the automation as we have it. And then let's start a new test. Let's select our entry here and run the automation. And this will then take roughly a minute or so until everything is done. But then I should receive an email. And here's my email. So your site optimization report, where we get the URL, the purpose, the target audience description, and then landing page optimization. So here are section improvements, add a visually captivating call to action button. For example, use contrasting colors that stand out. Then benefits and features, user testimonials, improve design and structure, value proposition. So you see, we get a bunch of really valuable information. And then it even tells me what I could improve on a, well, performance front, so to speak. Well, and I would say that's pretty nice, pretty good automation. Now at this point, there's only one thing that we still have left to do in order to make this whole thing look a lot nicer, and that is to add a cover image. So I have prepared a few images here. So first of all, this beautiful little PNG for our banner, as well as a little logo, of which we're going to just use this logo. Now, obviously, you can use whatever image you want, and then it will look a lot nicer. So if we publish this form now and we check it out, we will see that it just looks pretty nice. So analyze your website using AI automation. Now, obviously, there is a little cutoff here. That's something we didn't take into consideration. And this also changes depending on how far zoomed in you are. So it's a little difficult to find the right level here, you see. But then that is a little thing that can really make the whole thing look a little nicer. And you can obviously embed your forms into a given website that you have. So this would then be hidden, for example, behind a paywall, where Users can only access that if they are paying customers, for example, if you offer a SaaS solution, or obviously you would hide that page from the web so that you can use it for yourself. So that's that for our demo. So what's the real impact of this automation? Well, for starters, it saves you an incredible amount of time. No more juggling tools, spreadsheets, or manual analysis. Everything is automated, delivering accurate, comprehensive, and personalized reports. From landing page design tweaks to performance enhancements like faster load times, you will have a clear roadmap for success. And it doesn't even stop there. It's also a golden opportunity to earn. So you can offer premium services like optimization reports to businesses, you can charge per report, for example, or create subscription-based insights. Whether freelancing, starting an agency, or building a side hustle, this in-demand skill can quickly become a steady income stream. So are you ready to take your landing page optimization to the next level? Hit the like button if this automation blew your mind. And don't forget to subscribe for more AI automations. And if you're eager to dive deeper, or you're struggling with anything that you tried to build here and would like to understand it in more depth, then join my school community to learn step by step how to create powerful automations and explore more game-changing workflows. So that's it for this video. Thanks a lot for watching, and see you in the next one.